One of them is, you never hear Glenn Beck, and we're going to continue. It's not very much longer that he goes on, maybe like 2 more minutes. He never mentions, I'm just going to say it, forget the code words. He never mentions Soros buying Vice a month ago. He never mentions that Vice was the one that took down Tim Ballard, that got the request for comment from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Glenn never mentions that Mitt Romney was funded by Soros along with Obama in 2012 while he was campaigning. He never mentions that Mitt Romney's son, Josh, could be announcing his candidacy for the Senate in Utah. He never mentions that the smear campaign came out 3 days before, 3 days prior that it was leaked that Tim was going to run for the Senate. None of this is brought up. Okay. So that bothers me. Now, Glenn, back when he was with CNN, was basically censured by CNN. And was it CNN or Fox? I think it was CNN, yeah, where he was constantly talking about where the money trail was, and he would talk about Soros a lot. Soros was his bad guy. He got in trouble for that. He's ever since then, as a podcaster and an announcer and a commentator, he's never mentioned, he's Soros shy. We talk about people being gun shy. He is Soros shy.
And I think to bring up Soros and Mitt Romney and all of that part, which is relevant, would almost be like a preempted defense for Tim,
right?
And would almost seem like a way to discredit whether he is guilty or not.
It's like blaming, it's like blaming the fox for eating the chickens instead of the son that left the gate open.
Yeah, right.
It's like this. Yeah, it's the fox it's the fox that's at fault. Well, we know the fox is inevitably going to eat the chickens, right?
But yeah, we're talking about whether the gate was left open or not.
Right.
So
I can feel from Glenn's. I also felt from Glenn that he sincerely means it when he says that he's his friend. He loves him. He cares about him, and he was starting to feel that Tim wasn't being forthright.
He was withholding.
Yeah. So
maybe I would assume that it was probably maybe Tim trying to tell the truth technically, like he didn't do anything illegal.
Right.
Which trying to retain
whittling
the fact
around
that,
something. Yeah. Okay, I am without words. I don't know what to say. I'm laughing because I got my brother. I called these guys at the last, about 3 minutes ago. My brother's on the road. What are you delivering, Tim?
7.5 fertilizer to a farm.
Okay, nice. And and you guys know Christian Zebarth. He's a regular contributor to the channel. He is a food critic and connoisseur of all sorts of delicatessens and things and whatnots. So Tim, you sent me a podcast yesterday. A lot of people are talking about it. For the last 2.5 weeks, I've been defending Tim Ballard's good name. And what I've been defending is not that he's not, that he doesn't need the atonement in his life, but that he's innocent until proven guilty, due process, and all of the good things that we believe in under the Constitution. So we're going to talk about that. And the idea that whether he has some personal things that he needs to take care of in his life, does that have anything to do with him as a rescuer of children running for the Senate? Maybe it does in your eyes. And or the fact that it still could have still been a smear campaign and that happened. And that's kind of how Satan works in ambiguities like that. So let's listen to the podcast, guys. And I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Tell me if it makes a difference. Tell me if this sounds different right here.
We just
is that lower?
Welcome to the program. It's called Barrel Buddy.
Should I turn it up?
You clean your guns.
That should be good right there.
It's impossible to clean it and
let me forward.
Remains
to the part.
McCarthy, which breaking stories. What?
All right, here we go.
Okay.
Is there anything you guys want to say before Tim? You sent it to me. What do you want to just start playing it now? Or do you have anything to say now about this at all, Tim?
No, I could wait till afterwards.
All right. What about you, Christian?
Let's play it. I just think this whole saga has been interesting. There's been a lot of back and forth.
Okay.
We just, everybody knows Tim is imperfect, and everybody needs the atonement, including Tim Ballard. But it's a question of, is there something going on beyond just one person has their situation?
Right. There's a difference between committing adultery and sexual improprieties or misconduct, right?
Yep.
Okay, so here we go. Can you guys tell me when you want me to stop it so you could comment in between?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And I could just back it up 15 seconds if we miss a little bit. Here we go.
One of them is about January 6th. January 6th.
Oh, wait.
Now can...
Hold on.
Now... that's not what happened. In fact, one of you... And I'm going to talk about it
Here we go.
60 seconds.
Here we
I
go.
started taking it. Everything in my life changed. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
My life is good. How is...
A comment on rumors. And I didn't know how to address this. There were stories that were going around that there were these women that Tim, what would you say? Because there's nothing illegal charged in this. I guess was just, on missions with and broke his marriage covenant with his wife. And he has been all over saying that he doesn't really know what the charges are. He doesn't know who his accusers are. And none of the things that they say is true. And for several days when it first broke, I and some others were on the phone with Tim all the time. All the time. At 3 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning, just a couple of weeks ago, I'm on the phone trying to talk him down. If this is true, then you have something to worry about. But you say this isn't true, so trust in God. And his story started to fall apart.
Okay, just for a second. That's where I started having problems, because you're going to see that after he says this is where his story started falling apart, he doesn't really say how his story fell apart. So we're talking about vague ambiguities.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking Glenn Beck is also being very vague in this whole thing, which I know we haven't played the whole thing yet. But you guys know what I'm saying? How do you feel about that?
Well, I think the reason he's being vague, because I listened to it yesterday. Can you hear me?
Yeah. And I know we haven't played the rest of it yet, but go ahead.
Right. The reason he's being vague is at one point he's going to, if he hasn't already, he's going to mention that they have the story all ready to release, but they're not allowed to release it yet. So right now he's preempting releasing the story with this is his point of view. That's why he's not pointing out any facts yet. This is his point of view based on the facts that he knows that we don't know yet. That's the perspective I'm getting from it.
Okay.
So when he's saying that, when he's being vague, it's because he's not going to cite the actual investigation that's already taken place. But what we can understand from this is that Glenn has seen this investigation that we haven't seen yet, hasn't been broken yet. And this was a few days ago, so I don't know if it's broke, if they've gotten permission from the lawyers to release it yet or not.
Right. Oh, we'll definitely hear about it. I know that.
Yeah.
Anything, Christian, or should I continue to play?
Well, just really quick, we're still in the mode that, me and you talked about on the phone, where there's just a lot of ambiguity. We do have some information, but I think that either way that this goes, the public still doesn't have all the pertinent information.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, let's play.
By Sunday. And I came in on Monday. You say this isn't true, so trust in God. And his story started to fall apart by Sunday. And I came in on Monday, and I don't even know if I said this on the air. I doubt I did, but I was so close to ending the show about 20 minutes in. I looked at Stu in the first commercial break and I said, I can't do this because I don't know what's true anymore. Because I had been friends with Tim Ballard for so long and I had felt completely duped. And if I thought, if I don't know that about somebody who I'm close to, how can I possibly come on the air and tell people what is true? I have no idea, obviously. But I didn't want to say anything until we had facts. And quite honestly, I don't trust anybody with facts. I don't even trust me. I didn't want to do the investigation on my own. I'm not an investigative reporter. And I wanted something that you could read and come to the end and go, okay. So hundreds of man hours in an investigative story. Hundreds of man hours. It has consumed much of the work at Blaze Media for the last 2 weeks. And it has consumed me waiting. Last night I got the story, and it was supposed to be published, and I got it last night because I was going to share it with you. And then we got a call from attorneys. Now, this story, we checked with Tim Ballard. We talked to, I believe, 5 different women that are making these charges, and OUR. And the charges are pretty ugly. And
okay, I want to stop there for a second. Here's 2 things that started bothering me yesterday when I was listening to this. One of them is you never hear Glenn Beck, and we're going to continue. It's not very much longer that he goes on, maybe like 2 more minutes. He never mentions, I'm just going to say it, forget the code words. He never mentions Soros buying Vice a month ago. He never mentions that Vice was the one that took down Tim Ballard, that got the request for comment from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Glenn never mentions that Mitt Romney was funded by Soros along with Obama in 2012 while he was campaigning. He never mentions that Mitt Romney's son, Josh, could be announcing his candidacy for the Senate in Utah. He never mentions that the smear campaign came out 3 days before, 3 days prior that it was leaked that Tim was going to run for the Senate. None of this is brought up. Okay. So that bothers me. Now, Glenn, back when he was with CNN, was basically censured by CNN. And was it CNN or Fox? I think it was CNN, yeah, where he was constantly talking about where the money trail was, and he would talk about Soros a lot. Soros was his bad guy. He got in trouble for that. He's ever since then, as a podcaster and an announcer and a commentator, he's never mentioned, he's Soros shy. You know, we talk about people being gun shy. He is Soros shy. So
follow the money.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, why is he not talking about that? The other thing is, yeah, that's about it right now. Do you guys have any? Should I go on?
It just keeps sounding more and more like we're not getting the whole story, and there's probably still questionable things that play in the background in different ways.
Yep.
Go on.
I would say that the reason he hasn't brought that up is because I know that it's relevant overall, but it's not relevant to the point of, are these allegations true or not? Because that's really what the investigation was about. Are these accusations that these women are making, are they true? Now, if they're not true, then it becomes relevant. Not only are they not true, this is why this is happening, because of this and that. They could also be true, and it's relevant that all of the facts that you were talking about, Troy, is relevant, because as Glenn already stated, is he hasn't done anything illegal. It's immoral. And if we were talking about somebody that people already knew was immoral, this wouldn't be a big issue. The reason this is a big issue is because Tim, his faith is tied to who he is. And if they can break that down, then they can assassinate his character.
Absolutely.
Which is what they want to do. And
in other words, what you're saying, this is also an attack against the church.
This is an attack against, well, what I'm saying is that the investigation is about whether the accusations are true or not.
Right. Well, and
that's
Glenn
why at this point it's, yeah, go ahead.
Well, Glenn was even saying exactly what you're saying a couple days ago. Keep your nose clean. The Gad robbers are going to trip up. They can't trip up those who are keeping their nose clean. They can trip up those who are not.
I mean, with Russell Brand, if you've done something, you need to pay the price for justice. You need to pay the price. If you are somebody who is living life on the edge, you're not going to be safe. You're not. You have to do the right thing. Just do the next right thing. If you have something in your life, clean it up right now. Clean it up. You don't need anything in your life that you have to worry about. Just do the right thing. Because they will find things that you're doing and take you out. And if you're just and it's not true, I believe it will work itself out. But if you are dirty and corrupt and have done something, the best thing to do is just pay the price. Pay the price. Let God work it out. Turn back to God. Stop whatever you're doing. Turn back to God. But we are living in times where things could get very, very dicey. They want to put you in jail with AI and with deep fakes. There's not a lot going for you if they do want to put you in jail. Just do the right thing. Stay active. Stay involved. Always speak your mind, but shod your feet in the gospel of peace. Always.
They go for the righteous that are sinners, that might be in a repentance process, or those. They go after the hypocrites also, and they go, see, this is that group of Latter-day Saints. This is who they are. This is who they really are.
But yeah, they're trying to guilt by association, different stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually been hearing for months before the story broke, a couple of weeks ago, people saying, "Oh, Tim Ballard's really a bad guy. It's really him that's doing the human trafficking and all this stuff." My question before you resume is, with OUR, that group, that company, that organization, they're supposed to be these really on the ball people that know all the legal angles and how to follow things and do things by the law, by the book. And now all of a sudden they're talking about like, oh, well, Tim did these terrible things, years ago. Well, why wasn't it taken care of years ago as a company?
Right. If he did well, and a lot of this too is like old news anyway. This isn't new. What these women these allegations aren't new on him. Tim, I did interject. Did you have more to say on that?
No, I was just getting to the point that I think I pretty much made the point that that the investigation is based around whether it's true or not. And Glenn goes on to talk about how like he wanted to approach this balanced, and I think to bring up Soros and Mitt Romney and all of that part, which is relevant, would almost be like a preempted defense for Tim,
right?
And would almost seem like a way to discredit whether he is guilty or not.
It's like blaming,
it's
like blaming the fox for eating the chickens instead of the son that left the gate open.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like this.
Yeah.
It's
so
like, the fox it's the fox that's at fault. Well, we know the fox is inevitably going to eat the chickens, right?
But yeah, we're talking about whether the gate was left open or not.
Right.
So, and like I like, and you said this in your previous podcast too, Troy, and it's what he did, and Glenn goes on to talk about this too, is what was done. Glenn knows, we don't know. He's obviously has facts, and I like the approach. I always trust somebody more when they say, I don't know 100%,
Right.
When they always leave that, that question, when they're not 100% confident, to me, I trust it a little bit more because they admit fault even in themselves. But you said yourself, Troy, that some of the things that he might be guilty of should be between him and God, or maybe his bishop. It's more of a moral issue than there's no legal issues here. Not to stick up for anything that he's done, just to say that I think you're in line with what Glenn's saying. Glenn's saying the same thing, that he'll go on to say it, that this should have been kept between him and God. Go ahead.
Right. Okay, here we go.
And we were hoping to publish on Monday, but we still couldn't get Tim to go on record. And so we didn't feel it was right to just have charges and not answers for that. So we talked to everyone, and our goal was to be fair and honest. And I think this is one of the fairest articles I've read in maybe 20. It's because it's journalism. That's what it is. It's journalism. It's not gotcha. It's nothing. It's journalism. And it's simply looking for the truth.
You're saying we and our a lot? Did you have anything to do with the actual journalism in the story?
I mean we because of Blaze Media.
Okay. You didn't do the investigation.
No. And I didn't want anything to do with the investigation. In fact, when the story was handed, somebody reached out to me and said the women want to tell their story. They want to tell it to you. And I'm like, I'm too close to it. I don't want,
because Tim's a friend.
Yeah.
And he's been a friend for a long time.
And I was beginning to feel betrayed. And I was torn. I could either my friendship could cloud it, or the fact that I was starting to feel if I started to believe them, maybe I would go too far,
right,
and slaughter. And I didn't want to do either of those things.
Okay, just real quick. He says that he started to feel betrayed. Now, for a while, I was like, well, what were you feeling betrayed on? You didn't really have any information yet. Apparently he did. And apparently he knows his friend. Obviously, not apparently, but obviously he knows his friend. I can feel from Glenn's. I also felt from Glenn that he sincerely means it when he says that he's his friend. He loves him. He cares about him. And he was starting to feel that Tim wasn't being forthright.
He was withholding.
He was withholding. Yeah. So
and maybe I would assume that it was probably maybe Tim trying to tell the truth technically, like he didn't do anything illegal.
Right.
But trying to retain
wiggling
the fact
around
that,
something. Yeah. And
trying
Glenn's
to retain the idea that maybe he did something immoral, which to me doesn't discredit anything. I mean, I already knew he was imperfect, but for some reason, a lot of people, as soon as someone's character has a little bit of a crack in it, when it comes to a public figure, people will assume that everything bad said about them is probably true.
right.
And I think that's the desire of Vice and these other people involved is, hey, if we can just prove, that he doesn't use the crosswalk, then maybe we can prove that, he's a pedophile or.
Well, that's what I'm saying is they go for the worst thing at first. And then and what happens is, okay, so we go womanizing, sexual impropriety, sexual misconduct. And here's Tim going, no, I don't even cheat on my wife. I don't do anything. So then when we go down, then when we keep dropping down and we finally go, look, he looked at pornography or he did this, that, then all that other stuff becomes, well, what if he did do all that? Right. Yeah. That's exactly what you're saying.
You don't need any evidence for anything else.
Right.
Now it's open season.
Because we just caught you lying, period. So now you're just a liar in quotations, right?
Well, then some people can take it to another extreme where they're like, oh, so now because this person is imperfect, don't be concerned about human trafficking in general.
Right. Or don't be concerned. Yeah. Don't believe he's not believable anymore. He's not relevant. He's not believable. Now the movies and all that, the Sound of Freedom, now we can just debunk him, period, and everything he stands for. Right. Is that what you're saying, Christian?
Yeah. When human trafficking is a concern, period, whatever somebody's individual situation may be.
Yeah, totally. All right, here we go.
Okay. I just want to know either my friendship could cloud it or the fact that I was starting to feel if I started to believe them, maybe I would go too far.
Right.
And, slaughter. And I didn't want to do either of those things. Okay. I just want to know the truth. That's all I want. And so when they called, I called, it was passed on to Leon Wolf, our news director. And I said to him and the journalist beforehand, I have nothing to do with this. I just want you to know we're coworkers. But don't ever think, well, this is going to bother Glenn or this is going to, nothing. Pursue the truth. I don't care how it ends, where it ends. I just want to know the truth. So they did. And my gosh, we bent over backwards to make sure we checked and double checked and did all of the investigative stuff that we're supposed to do. And I have opinions now because I've read the story. But I can't read the story to you now. And I'll tell you why I think this happened. Late last night, apparently, the attorneys for the women called and said, you can't publish this. We didn't give permission. And we're like, yes, you did. And it's all on tape.
Hold on. Tim, are you still there with us? I don't see Tim. I think we lost him because he's truck driving. Hold on.
I think he bowed out.
Hold on, Christian. We're going to pause there. I want to call him and see if I have to give him the number, the passcode back. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, there he is. There he is. There he is.
Sorry, I'm on the country road here.
Oh, no, you're fine. Okay, I'm going to push play again. You ready? Did you hear anything I said?
No, I just got you back right now.
Okay, if you need the passcode again later, let me know. Okay, here we go. It's almost over.
Okay.
And they said, well, we haven't, we're their attorneys. We haven't given permission. Like, well, sorry. However, we said we wouldn't run it because we're not going to re-victimize people. If their story is true, then I'm not going to be a part, and the Blaze Media is not going to be a part of re-victimizing.
I like how he said if the story is true, because you're not going to we're not going to just assume that they're victims yet. They could be wolves in sheep's clothing. They could be crying wolf or whatever. So I like how he made that, like we're not automatically assuming right away that they're victims. We don't just say anyone that claims that a crime's been committed against them automatically have to believe them. So he says if it's true, then he doesn't want to re-victimize them.
Victimizing people. Here's what I think happened, and I'll give you two scenarios, but what I think happened all through this story, these women were terrified. I know I talked to a guy who was a inside source, and he said he is so worried he's moving his family away when this story breaks. That's how terrified he is.
Wow.
These women are not only terrified because, quite honestly, Tim Ballard is known as a good guy. He is liked by a lot of people. He was a friend of mine. I still consider him a friend, but a friend I think who is gravely misguided and needs to change his ways.
So that was the chilling part when he's like saying that there's this guy that's going to move his family away.
Yeah.
Like what? I'm like, what the heck? What went through your guys' mind when you hear that? Tim's involved in, maybe he was involved in something. I mean, this is crazy. Or like Glenn said, this is all propaganda and it's false.
I think that whenever there's any kind of undercover thing going on, there's a little bit of a slippery slope. And I know there's been movies about, this good guy goes undercover, but then he gets so lost in his new identity that things start getting questionable. And, that's Hollywood, but it's not hard to think that something like that.
That's a good point, Christian. That's a very, very good point. Right, Tim? Like, did he get so involved in this that you start to morph into those people that you are prosecuting, those people that you're up against? Yeah. Did he become his nemesis? Not his nemesis. Did he become the enemy?
Something to think about.
He
Go on, Tim.
Okay, we can't hear you, Tim.
Oh, what I was going to say is that I was thinking about how his story started, where he quit his job and he was very close to being fully vested in his retirement. He gave up a lot of stuff to do this, to go and rescue kids. And I believe that part of the story, but he still has temptation to deal with, and him being a imperfect person, I think he gave into some temptation.
Yeah, but what does he mean by these? If this is true, these women were terrorized. They were terrorized. They were.
Well, he's talking about not by Tim Ballard himself, but by there's so many people that really like Tim Ballard, and just like anything else.
Oh, okay.
Some people will get upset, and just
the
way it is with social media now, and
yeah,
I don't know if having
doxing people and all kinds of stuff. Well, but he said these women were terrified while they were on the job. Doing the couples ruse when you know about the couples ruse, right, Tim? Yeah. So, and then he says, if this is true and the allegations are real, there's a man that has planned to move him and his family away. It's like, this is nuts. This is nuts. So we don't know what he's talking about. Did Tim get involved in something deeper? Like Christian said, did he become the people that he vowed to bring down? What was he? Was there money? What, you can buy anything in this world with money. Was he, or is Tim completely innocent? Okay. So for all of those people out there who are listening that are like, no, Troy, I'm sticking to my story. I'm sticking to the idea that Tim is innocent. I'm not saying he's guilty, but I am saying Glenn is also a man of integrity for as far as I think he is. At first I was wondering. I don't know. All right, let's play.
I think what Glenn's implying is that, and the story's going to come out, and I don't think he would be saying all this stuff unless he had a story that was going to back up his opinion that he's giving right now, which is he's implying that it's quite possible, because of facts that they haven't revealed yet, that Tim was involved in some immoral activity, but nothing illegal. So I think that I don't think he became a trafficker himself. Like there's some extreme ideas out there that he's an actual child trafficker. I think that he made some missteps, that he might have broken his marital vows with his wife, but that's not illegal. I'm not justifying it, but I'm just saying that.
Yeah. Well,
I think that's where it's at.
And then if he is guilty, that's where the spirit, were these women terrified because when they talk about spiritual manipulation, you listen to that video I sent you yesterday, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Spiritual manipulation is one of the charges.
Right.
And
yeah.
Did he coerce these women to sleep with him and say, this is what God, how far are you going to go in rescuing children?
Well, like you said earlier, like it kind of sounds like the allegations against Joseph Smith, spiritual wife,
right?
Blah, blah.
But Joseph Smith is innocent. You see how they're going to do this? Look, this is the same thing that Joseph Smith did. Spiritually manipulated.
Here's another Mormon guy doing the same thing.
All right, let's play the rest.
That being said, I still could be wrong. I wasn't there, but I have seen the text messages. I have read the quotes and listened to the tape of the interviews. And I will tell you, I believe one side.
Wow.
But I could be wrong. And it brings me no joy to say this. I found out about this with the attorneys after doing all of the show prep on it and everything else, I found out about this, 35 minutes ago, that I couldn't share the actual story with you. But I will tell you that it is disturbing, and I would urge the women who are involved to call their attorney and give permission. I know you're afraid, but the truth sets you free. Let the chips fall where they may. This is an important thing. People are so wary of anybody and anything anymore because you wait and write a book. The world's on fire. And I knew about it 2.5 years ago, but I wrote a book to tell you about it. They're so freaked out, and this is one of the things the women are freaked out about as well, is Kavanaugh. There are all kinds of people that make charges and they don't turn out to be true. And all of these women didn't plan on telling their story. It's that the story got out because there's a lot of people involved. And the story got out, and then they felt like, we can't be framed as liars. I mean, it's been an agonizing and very long 2 weeks for Blaze Media. I urge them to call their attorney. Today is the only day I will have time until next week to comment on it or to share the story. I urge them to call their attorney and then Blaze Media and release the story. If you choose not to, that's fine. We don't have to, but we will abide by your decision. But it's not good, gang. And the reason I feel passionately about this, to find the truth and tell you, is because this one affects me deeply. And there is no way I can be on the air and point a finger and say, justice, where is justice? Where are the people in their own party? Where are the people in, in the news media? You know why they don't report that? Because they're all involved or they're all friends with each other and they won't stab each other in the back. Truth is truth. And if it means I have to say things I don't want to about somebody I consider a friend, so be it. Truth is all we have. As a recovering alcoholic who violated the trust of everyone who I was close to, in the end, when I was left with nothing, and I was literally down on my knees at my lowest point, I realized the only thing I wanted back was not my money, was not my fame, was second to my family, quite honestly, because I knew I couldn't get my family back if I didn't have this. And what that was integrity. And I vowed, I will do what you want me to do. I just want my integrity back. I cannot tell others to do what they should do without doing it myself. Please tell the truth. American Fight.
Okay. That last part where he said, please tell the truth. He said that a few days. I want to play this real quick with you guys. I know you got to go, Tim, but here's what I want to say too. That's what people used to do. Whether they, like he said, like the media does and all these politicians that won't stab each other in the back or won't tell on each other because it's a good old boy system, and it's swampy, and it's not about doing the right thing anymore. Well, in the old days, it doesn't matter. It was Republicans that took down Richard Nixon, and Richard Nixon was a Republican. Okay, a lot of people don't know that with Watergate. And there was a time where we just did the right thing. Glenn saying, let's do the right thing. Yeah. I might have been, I'm not saying I was wrong. I don't know yet. I still, right now, am on Tim Ballard's side as far as due process is concerned. However, I am looking at it a little bit differently. Here's the question, right, Tim and Christian?
Okay.
Can you hear me, Tim?
Yes, I can.
Can it be a smear campaign and Tim Ballard have done something wrong at the same time?
That's definitely a possibility for sure.
Okay. In other words, it's fathomable.
Yeah, this has always been a thing that could go two ways. What if he's guilty? On one hand, let's say he's guilty of all these, charges that just sound like they're probably pretty bad. What if he is? To me, that means OUR was not operating well as an organization for years. And how did it?
Well, I mean, there were a lot of other people involved in the administration, and there were a lot of other people involved in the operation. It wasn't just him. But you're right. Was there some corruption there? How much of how much of that, of what Tim Ballard does is embellishment, right? People are going to say all that.
Yeah, and if he was doing the similar things with 7 or more women, how did it go beyond the first one? And if OUR knew that he was problematic, it seems to me like they should have not done Sound of Freedom, or maybe made Sound of Freedom about a fictional character or a conglomerate character, so it's not all resting on Tim. But they did go ahead and do that. Now let's say,
and it's not to say that Sound of Freedom wasn't based on real events, yeah. and that Tim Ballard did do a lot of great things, but was he womanizing at the same time? I don't know. We don't know what Glenn was talking about because he can't tell us much. Oh, yeah, wait.
Even if Tim happens to be, on the other hand, completely innocent of all these charges, it's never supposed to be about lionizing him or making him a saint. It's supposed to be like, wow, you did a great job. Other people are doing this.
Right.
We should all be aware of human trafficking. And it should never be confused with the gospel. And I think people are making it about like, oh, don't believe in, the restored gospel of Jesus Christ because there's this guy that might have done some bad things.
Right. And then we throw the church under the bus. We're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right?
Yeah.
Tim.
Yeah.
The question.
Yes.
So the question was, can there be something? Can Tim have done something wrong, and also this be a smear campaign at the same time?
Well, what it is it's showing that, from what I gather from Glenn, it's quite probable that he did do something immoral, which was not illegal, but probably just more between him, these women, his wife, and the Lord. If it's true. But then the smearing part comes where they go, okay, well, if, like I was saying earlier, if we can prove that he doesn't use the crosswalk and he'll lie about that, then we can just go ahead and make a bunch of other implications about him, and more people, there'll be a larger majority of people that will believe that, because that's how a lot of people work, is as soon as someone shows their humanity and their imperfection, especially when they're caught lying, they get extremely discredited. And I think a good a good indicator that that this is true is that I think when he dropped out of the Senate race, because he was worried that if he stayed in, it might just get even worse. Maybe he was hoping that if he dropped out, it might just go away. But I mean, I still think that the Sound of Freedom, that story's, there was some dramatization to it, but I think the basic story is true. I think that he left his job for good reasons. He wanted to actually help people. There's a lot of things that that people should consider. Like, he has children that he adopted.
Right. He's not an evil man. He's still
Right.
He could still have been that hero and still have some issues with kryptonite a little bit later in the story. Right?
Good way to put it.
Right. So there is I think there's truth to it. It sounds like there's a high probability that there's truth to it, and that it's not illegal. It's something to do with moral things, and I think that the media is going to run with it and try to do whatever they can. Because it was kind of strange how the mainstream media had issue with a movie about human trafficking. Seems like we would all be on the same page with something like that.
Right.
But,
why are we was it a purpose driven agenda to bring somebody down and find dirt on them?
Yeah, but unfortunately I think some of the dirt
might be sticking.
Yeah,
we don't know that
even
yet.
though
we don't know that yet.
It shouldn't. The media shouldn't have been involved. It should have been between him and the parties and God. But it got this far because that's what happens when you're a public figure. That's what happens when you're a public figure.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. I'm going to end it there, guys. Do you have anything else, Christian?
Well, I just want to say this is the last dispensation. We're living in it. There's going to be deception, confusion, ambiguity, whatever is going on with individuals. We still need to be concerned about human trafficking, and we shouldn't let any of the stuff with individuals affect our testimony of the gospel, the restored gospel of Jesus Christ.
That's so true. Also, just real quick, before we go, you're gonna laugh at me.
Okay. I'm laughing at
my
you
brother's gonna laugh at me right now, but this is my channel and I have a store now. If you click on this button, here's my merch right here. Stuff. I just designed this one, guys. Look at this. It is Where's Captain Moroni when you need him?
Oh, good one.
You see that?
Yep.
Where's Captain Moroni when you need him? We've got hoodies. We've got tees.
Mark Zuckerberg should order one of those.
We've got crew neck. Yep.
Can I do my commercial, Christian? Do you mind if I do my commercial?
I'm joking with you. I'm playing. I love you. Christian knows I'm playing. We joke around like that all day. Crew neck sweatshirts in all different sorts of colors. We got that one. Classic long sleeve tees, classic unisex tees, Gildan soft style crew neck sweatshirt, midweight pullover hoodies in pink, alpine green, royal, gunmetal heather, and black. All right. So go to the store, guys. All right. How do you go to the store? You go right here where it says store under the channel and bada boom, bada bing. All right.
Good.
Okay, guys. Oh,
all right.
Venmo. I got Venmo.
And I got Cash App and all of that sorts.
Thank you, Christian, for that. All right, you guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Wait,
Thanks
don't
so
go. I'm going to stop the recording. But, one more thing. Let's pray for the Ballard still. Okay, so we don't. This
Either
just
way.
because Glenn Beck and they're investigating doesn't mean that.
All that other things I talked about, like Soros and all those guys.
Didn't happen.
Yeah.
All right, but let me.
Cause